Okay, so the topic for the interview today is about the use of blockchain in the multi-party system, whereby like more and more people are making an effort to not integrate, I mean like to um, achieve cross-industrial information flow collaborations, like for instance, between the healthcare industry and the manufacturing industry, which is critical, especially in times when there are like emergency cases whereby the healthcare system need lots of equipment supply such as oxygen cans or beds, etc., within short amount of time. But also, like we have already discussed supply chain management, which involves lots of different sectors. And then maybe if you remember in 2013, there was this case involving the New Zealand powder milk brand. It's called Fonterra, and then the milk was actually tainted. And then I remember the supermarkets in Indonesia, like they had a hard time actually like recalling the product systematically because the database are run in different apps. So yeah, this is a repeat actually of like previous topics, but then maybe we can go deeper on certain subjects. So we have already discussed like the use of blockchain to manage supply chain and documents and also logistics. And in terms of information and document flow, like what are the advantages of the peer-to-peer apps compared to the centralized systems?
Okay, I want to give an interesting perspective in this topic. Okay, let's say there is this information highway that they called it in many ways. There is internet, right? And you want to leave a piece of information available for other people to see. Where would you leave it? So if you leave it in Facebook per se, you are leaving it in the hand of Facebook to manage, right? If you leave it in Medium, will be Medium that has authority over the piece of information that you left around. If you want people also to see this information and notice this information follow a particular standard and is guaranteed that is following this protocol, this standard, there is not in the internet anything that allow you to drop a piece of information for others to use except the blockchain. In the blockchain, you leave down the information is still yours, is signed by you, so you can decide what to do with this information beside letting everybody else read it, but you can update it, you can say it's no more valid, give an expiration date or whatever else. Anybody in the world that has access to the blockchain, which most blockchains are open, will be able to find this piece of information that is available in the internet without being in the hands of any company. This is important because the piece of information, as I was saying before, there is a tweet, is in the hand of Twitter. Twitter can decide to remove it, can decide to show it to a lot of people. A piece of information that is in Facebook is in the hand of Facebook. Facebook can decide to delete it. There is not one place where you can leave this information for everybody to access and being guaranteed of the quality of the information. The origin from you is not being edited. Nobody else made something funny on that piece of information. So, existing this tool that never existed before, now we open the road to a lot of other possibilities, right? The fact, as you say, between different industry, have some piece of information that can be useful one to the other and can be found available in the internet without having to be managed by a third party. So if the multi-party system in the internet run a blockchain, run nodes of this blockchain, then each party will be able to access or put available for the rest of the world the information that are in this blockchain, which is excellent if you think, because it nonetheless is a very powerful tool.
And I remember last week you were talking about the advantage of the peer-to-peer app. Like one of them is the app, like there are no bottlenecks in terms of information flow because like it's not centralized. So in that case, like will also the blockchain system make this inter-industrial sector collaboration more efficient and faster, maybe compared to the centralized one?
Absolutely, and most of all, it's gonna guarantee that nobody tamper with data, or nobody can decide to censor data. And that's the most important thing, right? There is always somebody interested if the data goes in a way or another. Meaning that, for example, if let's say this is information about consumer wanting a product rather than another because what they order at the retail shop is a certain item and other items, those are information that can push producer to make more of one item rather than the other, and means that they can order parts to make this item more than the other. So is an interest of somebody that this information goes in a direction or another, because it will increment the sales for their parts, for example. So knowing that nobody can be bribed, nobody can be corrupted to modify this set of information is an excellent aspect of the blockchain, right?
Okay. And so my next question is, you also mentioned that information or data in the blockchain can be used off-chain, so like it can be taken out of the network so that they can be also accessed by different organizations or institutions. So how does this happen?
All right, this is a good point. And in Europe, we are living in a very interesting moment where there is a certificate about being vaccinated for coronavirus that is issued by several governments, is digitally signed by the government, and it produces a QR code. It produces a QR code that is not a link to a database managed by anybody, but the QR code itself contains the information like your name, your family name, the date of your vaccination, and whatever else. And this is used off-chain. When you want to enter a restaurant, they can scan this QR code with a mobile app and see if you are eligible to enter the restaurant and have a dinner there, rather than having to sit outside because you are not safe for the rest of the people. And it's interesting because this has raised a very interesting aspect of how to manage this off-chain, if you want, or portable pieces of information that have a validity because they have a digital signature generated by a proven party. So it's the government, the Minister of Health, the digitally signed this data in the QR code, there is the digital signature, so people cannot fake them. Because unless you have the private key of the Minister of Health, you cannot create a fake QR code with my data that are fake and have it digitally signed, because you cannot digitally sign. But once that is created, there is no way to monitor and control it. For example, in Italy, they fell in a very big issue. They say, if even you got vaccinated, but you get the coronavirus again, you get sick, we're gonna revoke your certificate, your QR code, which is called Green Pass in Italy, so that when you try to go to a restaurant, they will stop you from entering. But this is technically impossible. It's technically impossible because the piece of data that can be used outside of chain, off internet if you want, contain a digital signature, and you cannot, unless you create a database with a list of those that are suspended, and this is a big privacy violation, because you're gonna automatically know all the people that are sick, which is a violation of privacy. There is no way to suspend it. So once it's issued, it's issued. In the issuance, there is an expiry date. So many other countries, what they do, they see that you're okay today, then they issue one that is worth for 2 weeks. And 2 weeks later, you need to download a new one, which is gonna get signed at the moment you download for another 2 weeks. Italy, though, issued for 9 months. When you get it for 9 months. So after that is always going to be valid, and there is no tool and no function to revoke validity to one of these certificates, because once can be used off the internet of a system locally only, there is no way to add more information to it. So that's an interesting way for which information can travel off-chain in a QR code and be consumed by restaurant owner, bar owner at the entrance to see if you are being vaccinated. They're gonna check your ID and check the certificate, see that the certificate match the name of the ID, the date of birth of the ID, and they see that you've been vaccinated, which means you can enter the restaurant and go sit inside. So this is a very good example. Make it to part in the supply chain. Each part may have its QR code with this digital signature certifying the origin and the production, and you know that you're not using fake pieces that are arriving to you, right?
Yeah, and then instead of revoking like the old certificates, which can compromise privacy, they renew the certificate or the statement periodically, right? Yeah, yeah.
That would be the correct way to do it.
Okay. And are there some issues in compatibility, like because
the standards are published? Again, now they're published in the hand of Microsoft because they're in GitHub, and GitHub is owned by Microsoft. Ideally, it will be published in another blockchain, right? In a place that are available and digitally signed as well with the author. So it should go in a recursive way. Maybe every person in the nation should know which is the digital signature of the president, and every new institution or authority that is created is going to have a signature which is signed by the president, so people know that it's authentic. And these people, they're going to elect this. And in a chain of authorization, when you get the last piece signing a certificate for you, you can chain up back to the president and see that that person is actually authorized. And this can be done easily, even off chain, off internet, as with an app.
Okay. And yeah, besides from the examples above regarding the vaccine, and then I think 2 weeks ago you were talking about the university diplomas. They can be used in enrollment for postgraduate programs, or like when someone wants to apply for a job. But what are some of the examples of in multi-party blockchain application?
Europe is making a protocol standard that is multi-chain even, so it can be used along multiple chain, where items of any sort can be like a school certificate, can be the parts to build a car or whatever, are compatible in a certain way because they follow a certain standard, and so can be shared between parties and between chains in order to guarantee the final product is hiring somebody with the correct diploma, because diploma is this QR code that is signed by the school and is authentic, rather than building the item with the European approved standard parts, so that the item is automatically valid for the European market, and so on and so forth.
Okay, and based on what I read, only like the adoption of blockchain for the multi-party business system, like is quite mainstream in Europe and the Americas. But what about in Asia or in Indonesia? Because I haven't read anything yet about like many industries or government institutions applying this system.
There is actually a lot of things going on, and I have to say that after all, Asia leads these things. So if Europe is working, means Asia is already in production, right? Usually, it's usually very sectorial for a particular business, for a particular consortium. Let's say all the coffee producers are using for their supply chain particular deployment of blockchain, rather than tobacco, rather than distribution of other goods. But if the full set belongs to a single company, it's always more comfortable for them to run a centralized service. When many different parties are working together, then a blockchain starts making sense, right? Or when the public has to contribute and be part of the mechanics, right?
Yeah. I think I also read something about, but I have to search it on Google, about Indonesian companies using blockchain to like trace the carbon footprint.
Oh, well, that's very common.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's by like a state-owned enterprise. Yeah, so like it's
lots of
like
comments of carbon credits, for example, done on blockchain. Companies or countries that they can buy and sell to each other the carbon credit base. A company has allotted a certain amount, but they don't produce so much pollution. The leftover credits can be sold to a company that has allotted less of what they pollute, which I find very silly. But because the limit is given per country, they balance out the thing, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so like that's one thing which has come to Indonesia, but maybe like these stories are not publicized, like because okay.
It's not that it happened before without blockchain. It happened before without blockchain anyway. It was a very difficult accounting to manage. Blockchain make it much easier and faster to handle all this.
Yeah. And what are the most advanced decentralized platform functionalities which support the inter-industrial collaborations?
I saw projects that are very big, absolutely in the finance world. That's the biggest area at the moment. But in the pharmaceutical and the insurance are two industries also that are heavy into making blockchain system to get a different company to work together. What is not yet there that I personally know I saw is something that goes across industries so much because our limitation with the privacy if people is involved, like hardly you have health systems that share data about patients so that the insurance company can collect it, right? Is not something that is gonna be available soon unless people willingly share this information. Is done thanks to thermoservice with application. If you think Apple put a fortune of money in developing all the health collection of data which they can resell. So when you wear your Apple Watch, you are collecting data about your health constantly, and Apple sells this data to the insurance, to government, to other entities because you approve this in the small text that you approve with any license that nobody reads. And it is done centralized to centralized. If one day there is an autonomous production of cell phone and I don't know, like smartwatches that allow me to choose to sell this information for a direct profit or to share willingly for my own good and health, but that's my personal choice in terms of action and control of the information, then it is going to be the moment where people decide what data to share. For example, I don't mind that the advertisement I see is customized to my taste because I prefer to see advertisement things that I'm interested in rather than, I don't know, underwear for old people, I don't know. But it's not my choice at the moment. It's something subtle, is done between the lines and between other service, capturing my voice from my, phone, cell phone microphone and capturing topics of discussion in order to produce the advertisement, which is not so nice because it's a little creepy. But if I had willingly shared certain sectors of a topic that I want to know information about, then it will be okay. So this will be a way to control information that is shared for multiple industries from the consumer in a way that is controlled, and that will be nice.
Okay. And yeah, regarding IoT, so how blockchain complement the Internet of Things system?
Yeah, that's another. IoT devices are mainly producing data that can be consumed by other systems. Some need data in order to function and do certain things. Surely they are connected to the internet. And now the annoying thing is that when I open my house door, I'm not connecting my mobile app directly with my house door. I'm going through the servers of the company that sells me the smart lock. So these people are going to know anytime that I open and close the door, and the time that I do that, which are sensitive information and are profiling information as well, meaning that they know if I go out in the evening, come back late in the night, or if I go early to sleep. And this goes for any IoT device like that we have at home or in our car. So a system that allows me to share directly only with my devices through a network that is public, like a blockchain, in an encrypted format, guarantee the quality of the data that I'm sending and receiving from the devices, plus guarantees also privacy, right?
Okay. Yeah. So what are the advances or the progress that we can expect to see in the years to come, especially when it comes to the security concerns you talk about? So which information can be masked when it's being passed on to a different underserving parties, like the insurance company, for instance.
Well, as soon as there is an understanding of what decentralization is, why it should be used, for what should be used, and people start using it proactively in this way, then it's going to become easy to progress in that direction, right? So the beauty of a public repository that is secure, like a blockchain with decentralized storage and so on and so forth, but cryptographically secure, is the fact that I need to say things one time only. So if I say I'm entering the house and there are 10 different IoT devices from 10 different companies that need to do 10 different things based on my entrance in the house, I need to communicate it one single time to activate all the different things. If I do KYC with different company, bank, phone company, etc., and I change my house address, I need to change it one time, and automatically these people can, with the cryptographic key to decrypt it for privacy, update their databases with the most recent, or directly point to my blockchain record with the most recent address that I have, without me having to communicate to the driver license office in 10 days that I change the address, communicate to here and there to the bank and so on and so forth, which are many, and I can forget several on the process. So having public place in the internet that is guaranteed and secure for any user to leave a piece of information, to leave whatever they want, is it logic, it is cryptocurrency, it is a piece of text, it is an encrypted message, is an instruction, is a powerful tool that enable application to work around it and act properly under the control of the user himself. So without subtly stealing data or collecting data, let's say, that is not very clear where people approved about it.
Okay. Yeah, so that's my final question. So do you want to add something before we close?
Not much. This time I think we are progressing with the technology to offer then better approach to the users and to the company that want to work on top of this data.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Roberto. So see you again in the next week's interview. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.